Shevi'i of Parshat TeTzaveh, we have to get to the last pasuk, and when we're done with the last pasuk, we realize that something is missing in this parsha, and it is missing from the very beginning of the parsha and throughout the parsha. What is missing is a pasuk that we might have expected, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe Lemor, at the beginning of the parsha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, V'atot TeTzaveh et b'nei Yisrael, and then go on, and you command b'nei Yisrael, v'yichu elecha Shem zayizah, kasis lama'or, the first mitzvah in the parsha. But there's no Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe. And in fact, the question is sharpened by the fact that in Emor, where the same mitzvah appears, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe Lemor, Tzav et b'nei Yisrael, v'yichu elecha Shem zayizah, kasis lama'or, la'alos ner tamid. There we are told, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe Lemor. The question, though, is sharpened not merely by the fact that it's not there at the beginning of the parsha, but that in this parsha, Parshas TeTzaveh, is the only parsha in the Torah. Once Moshe is born, once Moshe appears in the Torah, in Parshas Shmos, this is the only parsha in the Torah, from Shmos through the death of Moshe, through the end of Dvarim, in which Moshe's name is not mentioned at all. Not at all. And I want to add one more thing, and that is that Aaron's name is mentioned in this parsha 35 times, over and over again. So one might say in answer to this question, you could say, well, this is the parsha of Aaron. And the focus on Aaron is because Aaron is going to be the Kohen Gadol and not Moshe. So all attention in this parsha is given to Aaron. Still, nonetheless, there is what falls under the category of a famous explanation of the Vilna Gaon. The explanation is based on perhaps an earlier explanation, and that is that this parsha is usually read in shul on the week in which the Yortzeit Moshe died on Zayin Adar, and usually this year is one of the rare exception that we're reading the parsha this Shabbos on a later date in Adar, right? As we all know, because it's a Purim Mishulash. So, but normally it falls out during the Shabbos of the Yortzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, why is that significant? Because Moshe Rabbeinu said, when he was pleading for Bnei Yisrael, that if you won't forgive them, im ayin, b'cheni no misifrecha, erase me from the Torah. I don't want to be in the Torah, right? Moshe was ready to sacrifice all his involvement and the mention of his name in the Torah for the sake of saving Am Yisrael. Even though, of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to Moshe, nonetheless, the Gemara says that a person should never make a klala, kilalat chacham afilu al tanai, a klala, a curse of a chacham, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the chacham mikol adam, the wisest of all men, afilu al tanai, even though the person giving a klala made a condition. If you don't do what I want, then erase me from your Torah. But God acceded to what Moshe asked. But it was, even though it was on condition, it still becomes fulfilled. It still becomes fulfilled in a certain way. In what way is it fulfilled? And the answer is in Parshat TeTzaveh, where Moshe's name is not mentioned, and that's at the time of his Yortzeit. The Gaon is reported to have added an additional point, because after you finish Parshas TeTzaveh, if you're looking in many Chumashim, you'll see as many Chumashim have a count of the number of psukim and a way of remembering the number of psukim in that parsha. So the count of Parshas TeTzaveh is Kuf Aleph psukim, 101 psukim. And the acrostic is Michael, Siman. The Siman, the sign, the way of remembering this, a mnemonic device, is that Michael, the name Michael, is 101 in Gematria. Okay, so 101. Now, how is this relevant to Moshe being mentioned? The Gaon says, even though the name is explicitly not stated, but it's stated in a hidden way. How do you state a name in a hidden way? Well, the whole Parsha is stating Moshe's name in this hidden way. And what is that? So now if you do the name of Moshe, 3 letters, and there is the formal name, the letters Mem and Shin and Hey, that's Moshe. But if you take the letters that are not spelled out, though they are pronounced when we pronounce the letter, but not when we pronounce the name, but the individual letters, when we say Moshe, we're making the following sounds. The letter Mem, Shin, and Hey. So the sound of the letter Mem by itself is the Mem. So there's a second Mem there. If you were to spell the letter Mem, you would spell it Mem. So that in Gematria, the numerical equivalent of that hidden letter is 40. Shin, the sound of the letter Shin has a Yud and a Nun. Shin. Yud and Nun add up to 60. So we're at 100. And the Hey of Moshe has, as it were, an Aleph at the end, which is the numerical value of 1. So Moshe is hidden in the entire Parsha. He's hidden because the sound of each letter individual adds up, of the Mem, the Shin, and the Hey, to 101. And that is the hidden value of Moshe's name. Now, this, when I've said this, repeated this to people, and when I first heard this, I said, that's really cute. And as I grew older, I understand that cute is not cute, and you never say cute about anything the Vilna Gaon says. Okay, what does he mean? What are we saying? What is 101? It's it's right. But when we learn Torah, we know that 101 is a significant statement about a person who would learn Torah. And that is the following Gemara in Chagiga. Daf Tet Amud Beit, the Gemara says that a question was raised. The Amalei Eliyahu Barhei, the Amalei L'Rab Lozer. My Dechsiv. What is it that's written? I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong Gemara. It's a little bit later. Okay. Amalei Barhei LeHillel, higher up on the daf. Ma'idachsiv. He raised the question about the following pasuk in Malachi. There'll come a time v'shavtem uritem. You'll go back again and you'll see. Okay. Bein tzadik l'rasha. There's a difference between the tzaddik, the righteous person, and the wicked person. Bein oved elokim lasher la'avodo, to the difference between the one who served God and the one who didn't serve him. But wait a second, this is repetition. This is superfluous. Hainu tzadik, hainu ovid elkim. Tzadik and ovid elkim, the righteous person and the one who serves God, they're the same thing. And hainu rasha, hainu asher lo avado. And the one who doesn't serve God and the one who is a rasha, who is wicked, is the same thing. So the answer is Amalei Avado Velo Avado Travaya Tzadiki Gemur. A person who's called a servant of God and a person who's called one who didn't serve God, they're the same thing. They're both complete tzaddikim. Tzaddikim Gemurininu. But nonetheless, even though they're both tzaddikim, but one is called an avado and one is called a lo avado. Why? Because enodona shona pirko mea pamim l'shona pirko mea pamim v'achas. There is, you can't compare a person who reviews his learning 100 times as compared to one who reviews it one more time, 101 times. And they're both tzaddikim. But nonetheless, the person who reviews it one more time, it's often, the Gun doesn't say this particularly, but it's often explained, it's in the Sfarim, that the way they used to review, they learned orally, the way they used to review was to go over it 100 times. That was the standard thing, right? But the lo avado is the one who goes over it, does what he has to do. But the real servant is the one who really wants to get it, so he goes over one more time. He goes the extra mile, the extra learning, the extra hour in Seder, and so on and so forth. And that is Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Oved. Why? Because he's 101 times. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe is really hidden. He is the hidden tzaddik, if you will, who is an Oved Elokim. He ready to go over and learn again one more time beyond, over and over and over. And that's the meaning of Moshe is here in every pasuk, in the totality of the pasuk. There is the 101 is where Moshe is appearing in every sense over and over again.